there's a lot of lessons to be learned when you do a site like this. It's been over 2 years now, and some of the lessons we've learned, everyone involved, and some of them we haven't. And the one lesson that I thought I had, actually I was not quite a master of, and that is listen to everything, because you just never know. You just never know what you're going to miss or what you're going to get into. I mean, that comes in a live setting, that comes on albums, you name it. If it's there and you have access to it, listen to it, because you never know when you're going to find your next favorite band. So Daryl here, thinking about September 8th of 2007. I was going to see Catatonia, and the opening band was some band called Swallow the Sun. And, typically my group that went to these shows was never really one to try and get there early. I've always been an early arrival person because I don't want to miss anything, and Swallow the Sun proved that to be very important. So that said, it was an interesting week for reviews, and the first couple, were the same thing. The week began with a band called Tumbleweed Dealer, which they had approached us, sent us a message on Facebook when their EP came out, and they described their sound as like psychedelic stoner prog with a mix of blues and western. And to be honest, I just kind of went like, yeah, I'll get to it, and I just put it off. But now they put out a full-length album, and once again, the link was sent, and I said, you know what, let me take a shot at it, and it's amazing. It's a two-piece band from Montreal, and they really just fucking nailed it. One guy does everything but the drums, the other guy does the drums, but the description was legitimate, which is kind of one of those things where you never really think when a band describes themselves with words and descriptions like that, you don't really think it's ever going to come to fruition, but it really is. It's like psychedelic stoner metal, but it has a definite blues influence, and there are moments where you could definitely see the song being the soundtrack to like a Quentin Tarantino western, like a Django. And I think that's amazing. They really knocked this one out of the park. It's a self-titled album, and I suggest that you take some time, you head over to their website, their Bandcamp, tumbleweeddealer420.bandcamp.com. They are, in fact, stoner metal, which we could debate that at all times, and we probably will debate it at some point as to what stoner metal actually means, but I'll just say that they are. But really great album from Tumbleweed Dealer, and I'm really glad that I actually sucked it up and just listened to it. The same thing has been going on lately. The death doom genre has been one that, since Swallow the Sun put out Emerald Forest and the Blackbird last year, the death doom genre just has not been appealing to me. There hasn't been a lot going on. The biggest bands are all either touring and not recording, or in the case of Draconian, God knows what they're doing. Since the departure of Lisa Johansson, I know they announced they had a new singer. They did a track for a tribute album. So bands need to step in. And one band, we talked about Soliloquium in their EP, The Concept of Escape, which was awesome. And there's been a lot that have fallen in place since then. So the band Facade from the Netherlands fits right in there as well. Really great stuff. Their new demo, which is self-titled, it's an EP, is absolutely amazing. It's some of it is really impressive in that it's scary how good it is. It's scary how heavy it is. And a lot of it reminds me of Draconian, just without the female vocals, which, I've always kind of wondered what that would sound like. Well, now you know. And it's pretty interesting, to see what the next wave is doing. They've taken the influences, they've taken the lessons from the previous ones, and now they're making music that is absolutely fucking awesome. So facadedoom.bandcamp.com, and their Facebook is facebook.com/facadedoom. I really suggest you check them out, because this is a band that could blow up very quickly if they get some attention. Now, a band who's been doing it for a long time, and this is no surprise anymore, is Dark Tranquillity. Brian handled the review of their newest album, Construct. We argued over what it was, and neither of us can really agree. But the album is awesome. And if you've been a fan of this band, they don't make bad albums. They just don't. You like some more than you like others, but there's not a one album that they've done where it's been a throwaway. And this is no different. I had reviewed their Zero Distance EP last year, or 2011, one of the two. and it was awesome. And that was one of my first real introductions to the band. I'd heard them here and there, but this album is absolutely awesome, and it sounds, they've recaptured some of that older, kind of harder edge that they had without really stopping the evolution of the sound. So I think that you should check this one out, and you will not be disappointed if you like anything that they've done. The melodic death metal, or as Brian called it, the Gothenburg metal movement, is resting on bands like this, and they fucking knocked it out of the park again. It's amazing how many years they've been around, and they're still fucking killing it. So go check out Construct. Now another band, again, bands that that come out of the woodwork. You have a one guy from Russia, one guy from Sweden. They get together and they form a band called Wall of The Eyeless. They just put out a new demo, which is called Wimfuls. I'm sorry about that. I can't say it. My mouth does not move in that way. But it's really, really impressive for guys who are young and doing this on their own to really put something like this together. It's great musicianship. The production work was great. They obviously put a lot of heart and soul into the recording, which was done with Marduk's bassist, Magnus Andersson, which I thought was cool, and mastered by Jens Borgren, who has done damn near everything in metal: Catatonia, Swallow the Sun, Opeth, Amon Amarth, Bloodbath, you name it, he's done it. So that says a lot about where this band is to get such all-star help on the album, and I think that they really deserve some attention. And same thing, walloftheeyeless.bandcamp.com. Just go check out the EP, throw them a couple bucks for it. I think it's €5 for the EP, and I suggest you pay that because you won't be disappointed. It's really this weird combination of melodic death metal, black metal, a little bit of doom in there. Really, really cool. And there's a really great dynamic between the two guys, which, again, coming from so far apart, you wouldn't expect it so quickly, but sure enough, they're just fucking knocking it out of the park. And the last review of the week was actually one that I had done a while ago and is now just getting up on the site for a band, Kaledon. Now, this is a band from Italy, a power metal band from Italy, and if you don't know who they are, you're not behind, you're not, an idiot or dull or whatever. You're not sheltered. Because I think a lot of people don't really know this band, but then again, a lot of people do. I know Brian is actually a really big fan of them. They had their Legend of the Forgotten Rain saga, which finished with the last album, and now this album, which is called Altor, the King's Blacksmith, kind of picks up in the middle there, where they're following the man who forged the sword that came to kill the beast in the previous saga, which, again, you'd have to listen to all of that to really grasp all of what's going on there. But Italy's just doing fantastically well with power metal. They've put out some of the most incredible power metal bands that I've heard in a while. And as you start to hear a couple, you start to realize that there's so many more out there. And, thanks to the people at Scarlet Records and Baker Team Records, we get a lot of these promos and we get to hear this stuff before it's widely available. And I think that's made a lot of difference for me in discovering a lot of new bands. So Kaledon has been around for damn near forever, 15 years, I believe, and this new album picks up where they left off. And, it's a great band, and they do a lot of things really well. The only problem with the album was that there are times where it just feels like generic. It feels like generic power metal. They have a lot of talent vocally, a lot of talent instrumentally. They really, there's nothing wrong with the album. It's not like they do something wrong, but there's just times where it doesn't have that signature feel. It doesn't have that thing that makes it stand out from the rest. And that can be a problem, obviously, if you're trying to get some new fans or bring in some new business. It's tough if you don't separate yourself from the rest. And I guess with a crowded, and when I say crowded, I mean crowded with great bands kind of scene, it's tough not to blend in. But the album's really good, and I think you should check it out. Make the judgment for yourself. The King's Blacksmith there, and that'll be out on Scarlet Records. But give it a listen. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. It's possible I'm wrong. I mean, I liked it, so I don't think I'm wrong about that. But it was another good week, and we got a lot of stuff. Bands just coming fast and furious. I mean, we're something, that I think is worth mentioning is that, we're not writing the reviews the day of. The stuff a lot of times is written days, weeks in advance and, waiting to go up. So, we're always writing, always listening to new bands. So if you have something, send it to us. But, don't worry, this stuff's coming. It's just, really right now it's a two-man operation. Obviously I am the foundation as of this point, but Brian has done a great job, with his weekly review, and he's nailed some really big artists and some really big reviews, which is awesome. So, I suggest checking back with us, and you're going to find some new bands that you've probably never heard. Because hell, I'm looking at the slate for this week, and I'm not sure what Brian had going this week. I think he was hitting up the new Tristania album. But I have 4 bands this coming week that are Sleepwalkers, Nimronaut, Exthenia, and North Song. And I mean, with the exception of North Song, I had no idea who any of those bands were until I did the reviews. And North Song is a special case. Really can't wait to have you guys read that review, because I think Cortland Runyon and what he's doing with that project is fantastic. And one last note on that, I'd done the review a couple weeks back for the Vile Eye Chaos EP, which is a one-man cello, a black metal cello project from Ohio, and I really loved it, and I've watched some of his live performances, which are fantastic, which I suggest you do. You can find those on his Facebook page, I believe. But he had posted that he was doing a split with North Song, which I think is fucking great, because it's 2, one-man projects, if you want to call them that I, absolutely fucking love, and a split with the 2 of them would be great. Come to find out that the guy from Vile Eye Chaos actually did the cello work on the first track of the new North Song album, which I did not know when I was listening to it initially, because I was not on the site when I grabbed it. I actually downloaded it and had put it on CD to listen to in the car. So that alone should get you to listen to the North Song album, and that's on his Bandcamp site now. I mean, you could listen to it before my review, northsong.bandcamp.com, and again, $10 for the album, and I think you should pay up, because I'm going to do that as well. And Cortland Runyon deserves everything that he gets, because he's doing an absolutely fantastic job, absolutely fantastic. But until those reviews go up, just keep dreaming, keep reading the site. If you guys have any suggestions, you want your band reviewed, sorroweternalblog@gmail.com, and you can also send us messages on Facebook. I do try to check them, but make sure you send it to the Sorrow Eternal Facebook, because I do not check my personal Facebook ever. The only reason I have an actual Facebook is so I can run the Sorrow Eternal one. And last but not least, before I go, I just want to tell you there is a metal community on Facebook that has shown us a lot of support as of recently, and blooming as far as members go, run by Melinda Sayer, and it's called Taste of Chaos, Taste of OV, Chaos, Khaos. And I think that all of you should hit that up, join the community, post there, check out everything she's posting, because she is doing a fucking great job. So definitely check that out, Taste of Chaos on Facebook. I'll throw a link in the body here. So, guys, until next week, keep it ready, and just remember that we are now in June, or yes, we are in June, and starting in a couple weeks, it's going to be lists after list after list. We got a list of best new artists of the year so far, best EPs, best albums. I have a list of a million things. I got to get Brian to get his list together so we can throw them out there, and it is that season once again. So guys, keep it real, keep it metal, and I will see you guys next week on Sorrow Eternal, the podcast.